continuously on defense.
Defense wins championships. Nick Rice, the lone dog in this one, picking Jay Sarah. Let's move along to one of the more boring matches.
Let me just remind you guys that I am the leader in Trinity League predictions this year.
Yeah, that's about to change. Anyways, as we move on to one of the very few snoozers, which will probably end up being a great game that comes down to the wire, like all the Trinity League contests seem to do. Servite, Santa Margarita, probably looking at this one as a snoozer just because St. John Bosco hasn't faced either team. They're going to play them back-to-back. Servite on the road, Santa Margarita at home to close out the regular season slate. Santa Margarita, we heard about KJ Costello's 495-yard passing performance last week against Olu, the 6-yard touchdown run to put the Eagles on top and win the game, eventually 42-41. Servite, they suffered their first loss, and their offense didn't look too great against Modern Day, but let's not forget, Travis Waller didn't play almost the entire first half, didn't participate in an offensive series after the first one until the second half of play, still wasn't enough. The Oregon commit, fantastic young player. I think he's going to give Santa Margarita a lot of trouble, but this one on the road could go either way. We'll start with Nick Rice.
This is going to be an extremely entertaining matchup. Travis Waller, amazing quarterback. KJ Costello, one of the best to do it. But overall, I think Servite, the Friars are just a much more complete team, and Santa Margarita following an emotional win that really, if you take a look at that game, they got dominated outside of KJ Costello's play, and you can't win every week with just one player. Costello cannot right the ship again. Travis Waller has one of the best overall teams in the Trinity League. Meanwhile, we pegged Margarita to be the worst to come out of this league and be the lone team that may miss out on the playoffs. Surprising win against Orange Lutheran, but I think the hype train officially ends. Servite wins. Final score 38-20.
Wow, good blowout in that one. Furthest margin of victory in Trinity League play to date. Dan the Man Godino, I know you got a little trick up your sleeve for this prediction.
No tricks up in here, just a bunch of truth. And I'll tell you something about this game. It's going to be a super high-scoring game. I've got this one up in the 40s. I won't just tell you yet the final score.
Okay.
Santa Margarita, they haven't put up as many points as Servite has during the season, but it's a team that was feeling it last week. Man, they came back from behind, and like we've been saying, it's been a KJ Costello type of show, and I think he continues it. But Servite has the X factor, and that's Mr. Travis Waller. We know too much about him. Oregon, and I think he's going to be the guy who just leads Servite's victory in a 49-42 victory.
49-42. The shootout down in Rancho Santa Margarita. Last week, the upset of the Trinity League was probably the Santa Margarita 1-point win against Olu. Servite didn't look good. Travis Waller, he's not 100%. Their secondary looked very weak in the Bishop Gorman game that we all attended. KJ Costello, 300-plus yards passing. Travis Waller struggles in this one. He's not able to run like he usually does. And Santa Margarita, for whatever reason, gets 3 straight home games in Trinity League play, which is beyond me. Santa Margarita at home, 38. Servite, 28. 10-point victory for the Eagles down at Saddleback College.
Whoa, yeah, sipping strong on the Garrett. So you're going to say that Santa Margarita, who struggles against what we pertain as the next worst team in the Trinity League, wins squeaker by 1, turns around, and what many peg to be the number 1 team in California, Servite coming in, beat them by 10.
I don't like the way. This is all matchups. I'm not going off of numbers here because, they say numbers never lie, but in high school football, anything can happen on any given night, and I don't think you can really rely on the numbers. So I like the way I like the way KJ Costello and the wide receiver core led by Kyle Sweet of Santa Margarita, I love the way they match up against the Servite secondary. Costello going to have another field day and prove himself as the best quarterback in Southern California as a junior.
Wow. Well, KJ Costello is a pretty name and all, but I'm going to tell you something. Numbers never lie. You're going to go 1-2 on Friday, bro. 1-2.
If I'm, wait. So.
As far as prep football, and these games we're predicting.
But I picked Mater Dei.
Okay. Oh yeah, the Lone Soldier picked Jay Sarah. That's right.
The Lone Soldier. Come on, Dan. Come on. We know it's late, but come on. All right, final one. Orange Lutheran last year came into St. John Bosco. Homecoming game, just like it is once again this year. 17-14 lead for the Lancers at the half. Upset alert. Bosco comes back. They blow them out. 42-24 the final in that one. St. John Bosco, nowhere near the team that they were last year, but week in and week out, they find a way to win. They're going to have a lot of trouble, in my opinion, defensively against this triple option offense that Olu and Coach Chuck Peterson in his third year like to run. Dan Gadino, does St. John Bosco improve to 3-0 in league play, and if they do, why?
The ranked 21st team in the state, Orange Lutheran, comes into Bosco, and they put up a formidable fight in the beginning minutes because we all know about Bosco and their struggles early on, and that's where we're going to see a nervous defense. They're already very shaky from last week and what Jay Sarah did, but in the end, the dynamic duel, the number one pocket passer in the state, the number one running back in the state, Batman and Robin, they always win it. So I got Bosco winning this one, 42-28.
Yeah, this is a huge talent gap, and that's something that we frankly do not ever hear in the Trinity League. But when it comes to this game, you have one of the best passing offenses and potentially the nation, led by Josh Rosen, one of the best quarterbacks, not necessarily passing attacks. That receiving core is far from the rest of the league, but potentially one of the worst receiving cores, if not the worst in the Trinity League. I'm not afraid to say that, given that we've faced injuries. If we don't have a Jared Harrell playing up to his capabilities, and Ume has been non-existent, we could definitely say that. But the passing gap is too big to overcome. Bosco wins, but it's not as much of the shootout as we all expect. Final score, 38 for St. John Bosco and 24 for Orange Lutheran.
I disagree. I think this is going to be the second consecutive week where we have a shootout. This time it's going to be down at Father Frank Rabata, or as Dan the Man likes to call it, Ciabatta Field in Bellflower, California. Here's the thing. St. John Bosco, it took them a half last year with the best defense arguably in the nation to defend the triple option offense. Orange Lutheran dominated that first half offensively. St. John Bosco, lucky to only be down by 3 last year at the half. That was last year. I already told you that the St. John Bosco team list this year, talent-wise, nowhere near the St. John Bosco National Championship team from a year ago. I think this triple option offense for Orange Lutheran, it's going to wreak havoc against the St. John Bosco defense all night long. Let's not underestimate Orange Lutheran's defense despite allowing 42 points to Santa Margarita last year. They're led up front by their stalwart, whatever you want to call him, defensive end Keyshawn Lucier South, who's, in my mind, the best defensive player in the Trinity League. He's got the offers to prove it. With that being said, I think the Braves really air it out this week against Orange Lutheran. I think, and here's my reason being, I think for Orange Lutheran, when you're a triple option team, your defense is seeing nothing but the run in practice. I think the game plan for Jason Negro and the Bosco offense will be to air it out early, and hopefully the Braves receivers can haul in the passes and keep control of the football. I don't see St. John Bosco turning it over at all. If St. John Bosco does have some problems with penalties again and turnovers again, they could be in jeopardy as far as winning this game. But I have this one as another shootout. Orange Lutheran They give a valiant effort, but they fall to 0-3 in league play. How about a 42-38? It comes down to the wire once again at Father Frank Ciabatta Rabata Field.
That's a good one. I think Orange Lutheran, if they do have a chance, they're going to have to be through the air. I don't know if their passing game can contest, especially
LJ. Okay, let LJ Northington. He doesn't.
Real quick. I do want to ask you though, real quick. Jason Negro, after their worst defensive performance in 2 or 3 years, do you think they give them another 38-point ball game to Olu at home?
That's not the thing. If you're St. John Bosco, you're seeing the third straight different offense in 3 weeks, and that's troubling for 16, 17-year-old kids. Modern day, they run Dave Money, the offensive coordinator over there. They run they run a pro-style offense, per se. They run a couple pistol sets. They really utilize their tight end. In this case, it was Kyle Peniston this year, and Shaq Lowry, for the majority of the night, was dropping back to pass the football. Run game was non-existent. The next week, you face a read option team with a good running quarterback in Nick Robinson, who had 2 rushing touchdowns, and a good running back in Edward Vander, who also had 2 rushing touchdowns. And not to mention, Robinson could air it out as well. He was very accurate with his arm. You're seeing the read option last week.
I would just bring up one thing really quick, and it's that Bosco has seen Norwalk and Jay Sarah even ran.
You can't. That's the double wing. That's the double wing T. That's not the triple option.
Similar. I'm saying it's similar.
They're similar.
But that's what I wanted to say, and I think that's enough because all you need to do is touch it a few times.
I don't think you. Okay.
You become familiar with it. I'm not saying they're going to be shut down. If we contain Olu to like under 250, then that's a winning effort because that's all they do. So that's what you got to worry about. Just like keep that fucking run in front of you. That's all.
Well, one thing I will say too is that you mentioned last year Bosco struggled against Orange Lutheran, the running. You're basing that on the worst performance of the year for St. John Bosco on that defense, and you're saying that we're going to end up being 30 or 21 points worse than that this season. Understandably, Olu is better, and we're worse talent-wise than last year, but I don't know if it's 21 more points.
Well, Orange Lutheran, they did put up 24 last year, so I'm only giving them 14 more points. It's fine, but here's the thing. I don't think you can compare, Dan. I don't think you can compare a double wing T to the triple option because the triple option you're getting to the outside more. You saw last week. You sweep to Matthews, you sweep to Vander, but they're only going 2, 3. Okay, maybe more than that. 4 or 5 yards to the right or the left of the line of scrimmage. In this game, you're going to have a bunch of trickery. It's going to be a play action to probably the best fullback that Bosco is going to see in Patrick Reardon, who's ran it 67 times for 509 yards and 7 touchdowns this year. Then you have another elusive quarterback who's ran for 290 yards and 5 touchdowns. I mean, Orange Lutheran, they haven't played scrubs. I mean, they know how to put up points. And so I just don't like the matchup for Bosco's defense. I just don't see them... I don't see them containing well on the outside. I think the pitch is going to... The option, the reason why it's called the triple option, I think you're going to see Northington roll out to his left and pitch it to one of his plethora of running backs. And I think that's going to be really effective against St. John Bosco. And I think here's the thing. Here's the thing for Olu. Last year, their quarterback couldn't pass for his life. This year, you look at the numbers for LJ Northington, 71 of 99 passing for 1,023 yards and 8 touchdowns. So he can pass the ball as well. And that's a threat for St. John Bosco because all of a sudden, let's see Orange Lutheran, not to mention they're going to be taking a lot of time off the clock. Let's say Orange...
Yeah, man. Hey, I will admit you're starting to sway my decision. And here's why. Because they also have Keyshawn South playing on defense, which he could disrupt Josh Rosen. And you did mention Bosco's going to be strictly passing the majority of the time. So you start to sway me, but still I've got to go with the number 1 team in the state.
No, I don't think Orange Lutheran by any means is going to win this game. I think and I'd hope at this point in the season for St. John Bosco that they could beat an Orange Lutheran team at 4-3 by a little bit more than 4 points. What I'm giving them right now, but
we could say Denver South is going to have a huge game. Like, it'll probably be in